What if Japan's most celebrated children's story, the one about the boy born from a peach, is actually, well, a hidden history? A story of war and conquest, where the demons weren't just monsters, but maybe real people, real kingdoms. Today we're doing a deep dive into Momotaro. You probably know the basics, the peach, the animals, slaying ogres.
Familiar stuff.
Exactly. But trust me, there's a much wilder, deeper story hiding just beneath the surface. We're going to explore its hidden history, from ancient myths all the way to wartime propaganda, and even how it shows up today.
And it's fascinating because this isn't just a story, it's like a cultural artifact. It shows us how societies, shape their narratives over time.
And how narratives shape us back.
Precisely. Yeah. And how everything, even a simple peach or a dumpling, carries these layers of meaning that shift and change.
Okay, so let's kick things off with the version most people know today, the modern master narrative of Momotaro.
Right, the standard version.
So, first act, the arrival. You've got this elderly, childless couple. The old man's out collecting firewood. The old woman's washing clothes by the river. Standard folktale stuff.
Very typical setup.
Then the old woman sees this huge peach floating down the river, like impossibly big.
Sometimes the story even has her sing a little song to call it over, a charm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that part. Anyway, she takes it home. They're about to cut it open, and bam! It splits open by itself.
Inside.
Not a pit, but a baby boy. And he's apparently not surprised, just announces he's been sent from heaven to be their son.
Just like that. A divine gift.
Yeah. So they name him Momotaro. Momo for peach, Taro, a common name for the oldest son. Makes sense.
It does. Sets up his special nature right away.
Then, Act 2, the call to adventure. Momotaro grows up super fast, super strong. He's got this innate sense of justice.
The born hero.
Right. And then news starts spreading about these fearsome oni, the ogres with horns and tusks.
Yeah, yes, the villains. Based on Onigashima, Demon Island.
Exactly. They're raiding the mainland, stealing treasure, causing trouble. Classic bad guys. So Momotaro hears this and decides, right, I'm going to sort this out. I'll go vanquish the Oni.
Just steps up.
Yep. And his adoptive mother, she's worried, obviously. But she packs him some supplies, specifically kibidango, millet dumplings.
And those dumplings become pretty important, don't they?
Oh, absolutely crucial. Which brings us to Act 3, the conquest. Momotaro sets off, dumplings in tow.
Armed and ready.
Along the way, he meets a dog, then a monkey, then a pheasant.
The famous companions.
Right. And how does he recruit them? He offers each one a kibidango.
Ah, the dumplings pay off. Generosity is a strategy.
Exactly. It's presented as this key act of kindness and leadership. So they pledge loyalty, become his team.
An unlikely team, too. Dog, monkey, pheasant, not exactly natural allies.
Good point. Anyway, they get to Onigashima and launch this coordinated attack. Pheasant distracts from the air, monkey slips in and unbars the gate. Dog charges.
And Momotaro leads the final assault.
Yep. They overwhelm the Oni. The chief surrenders, promises they'll stop being evil, gives back the treasure.
It's a complete victory.
Momotaro returns home a hero, brings peace, wealth, happy ending.
Yeah.
The classic hero's journey.
It really is. But here's the twist. The thing that makes this so interesting for a deep dive.
Okay.
That version we just described. The one everyone knows. It's actually relatively new.
Wait, really? Newer than what?
Well, folklore is almost never static, right? It morphs, it gets adapted, and Momotaro is a prime example. Societies actively engineer these stories, sometimes quite deliberately.
Okay, now that gets really interesting. So what was it like before the original?
Well, the dominant version during the Edo period, that's roughly 1603 to 1867, was quite different. It's often called the Kaisha Nagata, the rejuvenation type.
Rejuvenation, how so?
In that story, the old woman finds the peach, takes it home, but instead of a baby popping out, she and her husband eat it.
They eat the giant peach. What happens?
It makes them young again, magically restores their youth, vitality.
Wow. Okay, completely different vibe.
Totally. Then, because they're young and vibrant again, they conceive Momotaro naturally.
Ah, I see. So Momotaro is still born, but after the parents get rejuvenated.
Exactly. The focus there is completely different. It's about wish fulfillment, reversing old age, fertility. It was really more of an adult folktale.
Okay, so how did we get from that to the baby in the peach version?
That shift happens mainly in the Meiji period, 1868 to 1912. This is when Japan was modernizing rapidly, building a national identity, and crucially, creating a national education system.
Ah, education. That often changes things.
Precisely. The Birch from Peach version, the Kasegata, becomes dominant then. Momotaro emerges fully formed, a direct gift from the heavens.
So the focus shifts.
Completely. It's less about the parent's luck and more about the child's innate specialness, his destiny. He's born a hero, which you can see is much more useful for teaching lessons about heroism, duty, patriotism to school children.
Right, it becomes a tool for shaping the next generation.
Yeah.
But why ditch the rejuvenation story? It sounds kind of appealing.
It does, but it serves different societal needs. The Meiji Restoration needed symbols of national purity, divine purpose, inherent Japanese strength. A boy literally born from a magical, pure peach sent by the heavens. That fits the bill perfectly for building a unified, patriotic spirit.
That makes a chilling kind of sense. So the story gets repurposed for nation building.
Exactly. And it doesn't stop there. If you look around Japan, you find even more variations.
Like what?
Well, up in the north, Tohoku and Hokuriku regions, some versions don't even have a peach. They have boxes floating down the river.
Boxes?
Yeah, sometimes a red one and a white one. The old woman has to choose which one to pull out, and Momotaro is inside the one she picks. Adds this element of fate or choice.
Huh. And Momotaro himself, is he always this proactive hero?
Not always. Down in Shikoku and Shigoku, you sometimes find versions where he's more like Nataru, the sleeping boy archetype.
Cripping boy.
Yeah, he's incredibly strong, but also incredibly lazy, like sleeps all day. The villagers practically have to beg him and push him into going after the Oni.
Huh. A lazy Momotaro. That's quite different.
Definitely a more ambivalent hero. Sometimes he's not even a volunteer. The townspeople kind of force him into it. Not quite the shining example of justice.
So all these variations, it really shows the story isn't just one fixed thing. It's fluid.
Absolutely. And it suggests the story is deeply connected to specific places and maybe even real historical events.
Which brings us to Okayama Prefecture, right? The supposed homeland of Momotaro.
Yes, exactly. The link to Okayama, which was once the ancient and powerful kingdom of Kibi, is incredibly strong. It's almost certainly not a coincidence.
So what's the connection? Is there an older story there?
There is. A foundational legend, much older than the Momotaro we know. It's the story of Prince Kibutsuhiko no Mikoto.
Yeah.
He was an imperial prince, supposedly sent by the central Yamato court to subdue the kingdom of Kibi and his main adversary, a fearsome local ruler, sometimes depicted as an ogre named Ura.
Uro the ogre. Sounds familiar.
Doesn't it? Ura supposedly had his stronghold on a mountain called Kinojo, which literally means ogre's castle, and terrorized the region.
So a prince versus an ogre king.
Right. The legend tells of this epic battle. Archery duels, magical shape-shifting Ura turns into a carp to escape. Kibutsuhiko transforms into a cormorant to catch him.
Wow. Proper mythical stuff.
Totally. In the end, Kibutsuhiko defeats Ura, cuts off his head, and supposedly buries it under a giant cauldron at what is now Kibitsu Shrine.
Okay, I see the parallels. Righteous hero, monstrous enemy, big battle, order restored.
All the core elements are there. Momotaro looks very much like a later, perhaps more child-friendly retelling or adaptation of this much older regional conflict myth.
So the cute story about the Peach Boy could actually be, well, propaganda. That's Victor's version of history.
It certainly looks that way. You can read it as an allegory for the Yamato state conquering and absorbing the rival kingdom of Kibi. Ura, the local ruler, gets demonized as the Oni, and Momotaro becomes the folkloric symbol of the imperial conqueror.
That's kind of heavy for a children's story. But some people might say, come on, you're reading too much into it. It's just a fun adventure. What's the counter to that?
It's a fair point. Overinterpretation is always a risk. But the evidence here is pretty strong. Folklore, especially these kinds of foundational stories, often serves to explain origins, justify power structures,
Right.
And the persistence of the Momotaro story in Okayama, tied to specific real-world locations connected to the Ura legend, that makes it hard to dismiss as pure fantasy.
You mean you can actually go see these places?
Absolutely. Kibitsu Shrine is a major site dedicated to Prince Kibutsuhiko. It literally has a hall, the Okamaden, with the legendary cauldron said to cover Ura's head.
No way.
Yes. And they even have a divination ritual there, the Narukama Shinji, where they boil rice and the sound the pot makes is interpreted as Ura's groaning voice, predicting good or bad fortune.
That's incredible. So Ura is still speaking from under the pot.
According to the tradition, yes. Then there's Mount Kinojo itself, Ogre's Castle, which has real ruins of a 7th century fortress. People identify it as Ua's stronghold.
Wow.
And there's even an island in the Seto Inland Sea called Megijima, which is another popular candidate for Onigashima. It has these large, ancient caves, probably man-made, that are now filled with Oni statues for tourists. It really grounds the myth in geography.
It really does. Okay,
Yeah.
so this story starts local, maybe based on history, gets adapted. How does it become this national symbol and eventually a weapon of war? That seems like a huge leap.
It is a huge leap, but it happens step by step. Like most old tales, it probably started circulating orally, maybe as far back as the Muromachi period in the 14th or 15th century.
Just told around villages?
Exactly. Then, in the Edo period, it started getting written down and printed in cheap, popular books called kusazushi, or ikathon. Those early printed versions often featured the rejuvenation plotline we talked about.
Right, the parents eating the peach.
Yes. But the big change, the nationalization, comes with the Meiji Restoration. It gets picked for inclusion in the new national elementary school textbooks starting around 1887.
The textbooks again.
That's the key moment. And then a very influential folklorist and children's author, Uwaya Sazanami, created a standardized version in 1910. He really cemented the birth from the peach narrative and polished Momotarō into this ideal heroic figure for kids across Japan.
So Sazanami's version becomes the version.
Pretty much. And then things take a darker turn.
This is the propaganda part.
Yes. Leading up to, and especially during World War II, in the Taishu and Shukwa periods, the story was explicitly twisted for nationalism and militarism.
Oh, explicitly.
Very. Sazanami himself, back in 1894 during the First Sino-Japanese War, wrote a version where Momotaro was basically a general leading Great Japan against ogres who clearly represented King China.
Wow, okay. So the precedent was set early.
It was, but it reached its peak during WWII. Momotaro became the symbol of Japan, or the emperor. The loyal animals were the Japanese people, united behind him.
And the Oni.
The Oni were explicitly drawn and depicted as caricatures of American and British soldiers, horned, monstrous allied enemies on Demon Island.
That's chilling. Are there actual examples of this?
Oh, absolutely. There were animated films, Momotaro no Umiwashi, Momotaro's Sea Eagles from 1943, and even more famously, Momotaro, Umi no Shinpei, Divine Sea Warriors from 1945.
Divine Sea Warriors.
Yes. It's actually historically significant as Japan's first feature-length animated movie. And what does it depict? Momotaro and his animals leading an air assault on a place that looks an awful lot like Pearl Harbor.
Good grief. So Children's Hero used to depict the attack on Pearl Harbor.
That's the power and the danger of repurposing these deep-seated cultural narratives. Did it work, though? Did people buy into this distortion?
It seems they did, largely. The vagueness of Onigashima helped. It could be anywhere, represent any enemy. And wrapping hardcore propaganda in the familiar guise of a beloved children's story, that's a disturbingly effective technique. It taps into something deep.
It really makes you think about the stories we consume today, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Okay, so beyond the history and the propaganda, what about the deeper symbolism within the standard story? What makes it resonate?
Well, even in the standard version, there are strong positive themes that speak to core Japanese values. Courage, definitely. And filial piety, he's doing it for his parents and community, not just himself.
Right, protecting the home village.
Teamwork is huge. He can't succeed alone. He needs that dog, monkey, and pheasant working together, despite being different.
Unity from diversity, kind of.
Exactly. And his generosity sharing the kibi dango is presented as the foundation of his leadership. It reflects that Japanese concept of on, the debt of gratitude. Kindness builds loyalty.
It's a nice message.
And there's that fundamental insider-outsider theme, Uchi versus Soto, the safe, orderly village against the chaotic, threatening Oni from outside.
Okay, that makes sense. What about the specific symbols? The peach, the river, the dumplings.
They're all loaded. The peach, Momo, is powerful across East Asia, symbolizes long life, purity, protection against evil. So being born from one makes Momotaro inherently special, divinely protected.
Like wearing magical armor from birth.
Sort of. The river is often seen in folklore as a boundary, right, between the human world and the spirit world, or Ikae. The peach floating down is like a message or gift crossing that boundary.
A sacred delivery.
And the kibi dongo, we talked about them buying loyalty, but they're more than just payment. They're like a tangible symbol of a social contract. Sharing food builds community. Plus, the name kibi itself is a pun.
The pun.
Yeah, it directly references the kibi region Okayama. It's a little wink back to the story's origins embedded right there in the dumplings.
Ah, that's clever. And Onigashima itself, Demon Island.
It represents the ultimate other, the external threat. Its location is often vague, maybe just northeast, which is traditionally the Kimon or Demon Gate direction in Japanese cosmology, the unlucky direction where evil enters. That vagueness makes it easy to map onto any enemy, as we saw with the propaganda.
Right, it's a floating signifier for the enemy. Now, you mentioned folklorists earlier, like Kunio Yanagita. How did they interpret all this?
Yanagita is really the father of Japanese folklore studies. His 1933 book, The Birth of Momotaro, is foundational. He saw the story as preserving echoes, like a fossil, of much older beliefs.
Beliefs about what?
He identified this recurring archetype he called the Chisago, or small child hero. Think Momotaro, Isunbushi, the inch-high samurai, Kaguya Hime, the moon princess.
They're all born unusually small or from strange objects.
Exactly, and they grow incredibly fast and bring good fortune. Yanagita believed this pattern was a survival from an ancient folk religion that worshipped powerful, benevolent child deities.
So Momotaro is a kind of fated god.
In a sense, linked to this is the idea of Ichistanju, abnormal birth. Being born from a peach or bamboo or found in a box, it marks the hero as having divine or otherworldly origins. Yanagita pointed out these miracle babies are always given to good, devout, childless people.
Like a reward from the gods.
Precisely. So for Yanagita, Momotaro wasn't just a hero, he was a memory trace of an ancient child god carrying spiritual weight.
Wow. So, okay, this story has ancient roots, historical echoes, propaganda twists. How does it actually live on today? Is it just a dusty old tale?
Oh, not at all. Momotaro is incredibly alive in contemporary Japan. First off, education. It's still one of the very first stories kids learn. It teaches those core values, courage, teamwork, trying hard. It's part of the basic cultural literacy everyone shares.
A common touchstone.
Definitely. And as a symbol, he still embodies that idealized Japanese spirit, the Yamato Damashi bravery, loyalty, getting things done together.
Does it show up in, like, products? Advertising?
Absolutely. There's a famous brand called Momotaro Jeans, based in Kojima, Okayama, right in the heartland. They make high-end denim.
Jeans. How do they connect that to the Peach Boy?
They explicitly use the story in their branding to symbolize Japanese craftsmanship, tradition, quality, and even that old rejuvenation theme, like rejuvenating classic styles. It connects their modern product to this deep cultural root.
Clever marketing.
Very. And then there's pop culture. It's everywhere.
Anime and manga.
Tons. Beyond the old propaganda films, you get modern takes. There was a movie called Anime Momotarō that used the story to talk about bullying and kindness. And in manga...
Oh, boy.
Big examples.
One Piece, massive homage in the Wano arc. You have an island fortress literally called Onigashima, a key character named Momonosuke, another character whose power involves taming animals with. Guess what?
Kibidango.
You got it. It's a huge direct reference fans instantly recognize. Then you have something completely different like Hozuki's cool-headedness.
What's that one do?
It's a comedy set in Japanese hell, and it features Momotaro as this like arrogant, washed-up hero bragging about his past deeds while his animal companions are just tired, overworked bureaucratic assistants in hell.
Huh. That is brilliant. A total send-up. What does that kind of satire tell us?
It shows the story is so well-known, so ingrained, that the culture can play with it, deconstruct it, poke fun at it. It means the original is strong enough to withstand parody, you know? Keeps it fresh.
Right. It's not treating it like some untouchable sacred text. And video games. Oh, yeah. Huge phenomenon. There's the Momotaro Densetsu RPG series, and especially the Momotaro Dentetsu board game series. Dentetsu is like Electric Railway.
A Momotaro board game about trains.
Sort of. Players travel around a map of Japan, buying properties, dealing with events, occasionally battling Oni. It's been incredibly popular since the late 80s, especially as a family game during holidays. It's woven the Momotaro framework into modern entertainment.
So, from ancient myth to modern board game, what a journey.
It really is.
We've really peeled back the layers today, haven't we? From a story about old folks getting young again to this national icon, then a tool of war, and now genes and video games.
Yeah.
It shows how powerfully a simple story can be bent and reshaped over time.
It truly does. This kind of deep dive really underscores that folklore isn't just stories. It's like a living archive of a culture's hopes, fears, values, conflicts. Momotaro shows us who gets to be the hero, who gets cast as the monster, and how easily those roles can be redefined to serve a purpose.
And as we saw, sometimes the monsters started out as real people, conquered kingdoms, painted over by the victor's narrative. It definitely makes you pause and think. If a story like Momotaro can shift so dramatically, fertility tale, national fable, war cry, brand identity, what does that suggest about the stories shaping our world right now? What underlying messages are we absorbing? What stands out most to you after tracing Momotaro's incredible, ever-changing journey?